Hi, Lisa Davies, Law of Attraction Masterclass. Welcome. Today I'm going to talk to you about depression and using Law of Attraction for depression. Now, very much depression is thought of as a medical condition, and people will go into the chemical side in your brain about that. But I want to talk to you about depression because I come from a place of having suffered it many years ago. And I didn't know that I was using Law of Attraction to get over my depression. In the years gone by, when I was using Law of Attraction very powerfully, both in the good and the bad, so I got a very roller coaster ride of a life, shall we say. But in the context of depression, I was doing actually what felt right. And when you look at Abraham Hicks, and they talk about going for the path of least resistance, okay, and doing what feels joy, or what is joy, and that's your path out of your problem or away from your problem and towards what you want. Now, when I was depressed, I wanted to sleep. I had migraines, and all I wanted to do was sleep. I did actually lose a lot of school time from it, and now I've trained in NLP and hypnotherapy, and I really understand a lot about the unconscious mind, and then linking into that, understanding the unconscious mind and Law of Attraction when you're asleep is really important. So my advice actually to say is, if you're suffering from depression and your inclination is to sleep, then sleep. And if your inclination is to sleep some more, then sleep some more, and keep sleeping until you have sufficient energy. By all means, meet certain obligations, but if you work and then you just come home and all you want to do is sleep, that's okay. When you're going to sleep, you're effectively shutting off your reality, okay? So when you do that, you stop being triggered by negative events. You stop being triggered by the beliefs that you have that are not serving you, by the emotions that have anchored. And what tends to happen is, if you're in certain environments, whether it's a work environment, a school environment, you can get triggered and anchored into an emotion. So you can get anchored into anxiety. So you go, every time I go to school, I get anxious. Every time I go to school, I mean, this to some extent was my personal experience, I would have a panic attack, and I associated school environment with panic attacks, and that isn't very serving to me. So actually, to escape that environment was actually the right thing to do. And this is how we get anchored into things, okay? We have neurological patterns that will just condition themselves to the environment that we're in, and this is what kind of phobias tend to kind of come from. So escaping your reality is really the best thing that you can possibly do. The worse your depression, the more that you should do it, and obviously ultimately that's what suicide is escaping the reality. But if you feel depressed in the early stages of that depression, you should sleep. Sleep's a good place to start, because your mind will process what it needs to process. It will dream, and it's more likely to dream out better realities than what you're currently living, and it's going to increase your vibration for you. When you look at Abraham Hicks, they talk about connecting with the source, and they say that when you are asleep, you immediately connect that to source. They say that that's why babies sleep a lot. They're connecting back to source. They're connecting back to source. And I find this a really interesting area. Okay, and to be honest, I'm not really interested in whether the science can prove it or not. It's about a personal experience. And so to go along with the idea that you do what makes you feel happy, that is the best thing to do. Go along and do what the path of least resistance, and that is your quickest way out of the problem. Often what people do with depression is they persist in their environments, and they carry on and they carry on and they carry on. And where you've been anchored and where you've been triggered, you will continually be triggered. There are things that you can possibly do, and if you want to do self-development and you want to read books, then do that. Reading books actually is a really good way, expand your mind. But if you feel just you want to go to sleep, that's okay. Okay, that is the first place to start. Then you can start working on some of the other areas and getting yourself out. And you don't necessarily need professional help. I got myself out of depression on my own. I had professional people in my life that were of absolutely no use whatsoever to me, didn't understand me, and I couldn't even discuss anywhere near the plane of thought that I needed to discuss to get me out of my problems. And so I had to do it on my own, and you can too. So I just want to say that I think using law of attraction, immerse yourself in the material that's out there. Just listen to more and more material that you can possibly listen to, and sleep. And that's a good thing. So don't worry about exercise. That can come on another day and another step when you feel the moment that you can do that without a huge amount of resistance, or you're doing it because you're doing it with a friend that you feel a good affinity with. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video for today on depression and the first place to start with that. If you've got any questions on law of attraction, then join us on the Facebook group. This group is building up. It is using a lot of the small stuff that happens in our life, but we are going to be dealing with some really tough topics in this masterclass. Okay, this really is about people understanding that the law of attraction affects every single thing in your life. Every single bad thing that happens to you, okay, is due to law of attraction, and we will be covering some really tough topics, and we'll be going over them again and again and again and again and again in different ways until you can truly understand that. So if you've got questions on depression, if you've got a particular moment in the day, then ask a question in the Facebook group, and we'd love to see you in there. Have a great day for now.